First of all, that was a very empowering conversation that we just had. And I couldn't be lucky enough to segue right into what we're going to talk about, because much of this powerful conversation about how companies are engaging the spending power of our community is a great conversation. But remember also, one thing that I've learned now on Wall Street and working with investment bankers and big corporations that are on our index is they are just as interested in the allies' support of my partner and I. So for example, if my partner and I are mistreated somewhere or in a certain hotel or airline or restaurant chain, then we're going to probably tell our friends, and that spending power of our allies is in some cases even more powerful than the actual community. So, some of us have spent our entire lifetime trying to advance equality in the LGBTQ space. That's being done with Gaycation. That's been done with Pride Media. I spent 15 years in the LGBTQ media space, proud to be a partner now with DJ at Equalitas. But keep in mind, we published back in the day up through 2015, 1,000 pages a month. Over 1,000 pages a month from the South to the Northeast to the West, 90 cities throughout North America. And some of you might remember those publications and those print media properties. And so the value that I'm going to talk about today is what I learned from my experience in working with 1,000 pages of content every month, of which about 40% of those pages were advertisements. Advertisers that were trying to reach our community. So the passion for me began when a red light went off or a green light went off. Red light in that, per DJ, print was a dying breed to a certain extent. But the green light is that American Airlines, Delta Airlines, Marriott, these big corporations have taken notice of our spending power. They've taken notice of our loyalty factor. They have taken notice that our allies, our friends, our straight friends actually care how we're treated. And most importantly, they want to help make that decision that DJ alluded to, which is the millennials are not quite sure who they love or who they want to love in terms of who they're going to spend money with. But guess what? By good marketing by American Airlines, good marketing by Marriott, and it is an authentic marketing campaign, the millennials are now checking into the Marriott. The millennials are now flying to their 5-year high school reunion on Delta Airlines, and they're making a very distinct determination in that decision. And we're going to prove over the next 15 minutes the purpose of LGBTQ loyalty. Equality is the soul of liberty, and there is in fact no liberty without it. I think we can all agree to that. Let's talk about in short order, because I only have 20 minutes. This usually takes 2 hours. We created an index, some of the greatest people in our community who I'll talk about shortly, but everybody knows Barney Frank. When I told Barney that I saw that corporate America was engaging with us, the question became, are these companies doing better? Are they outperforming their competitors? Are they doing better than the market? Are they beating the S&P 500? How many of you own S&P 500 stocks? Great. How many of you would be thrilled if I told you that those very same stocks that you probably own and companies that you support in an index that was created just a few years ago outperformed the S&P by nearly 6%? So what if I told you could take a 20-year average of 8% and it could be 14%? And I will excitingly tell you why that happened. So we created an index that outperformed by 5%. It's really closer to 6%. We capturing the voice of the LGBTQ community. And you'll hear it in a little bit. We did that by polling and surveying with the help of Bob Witek, which many of you know from Harris Poll. 250,000 people in all 50 states from all walks of our LGBTQ community were asked questions over a 25-minute process. And you can imagine the information that we got that really helped us understand the spending power, the likes and the dislikes from our community. social impact in shaping corporate behavior, ideal bridge to other equality-driven communities. So at the end of the day, look what happened. We spent $1 million. We started a little company called LGBTQ Loyalty Holdings back in January of 2018, an OTC company that trades on the stock exchange. And, through that vehicle, we wanted to give people from all walks of life to be part of that history with us, to own a part of being on the right side of history. And the first step for that process was, are companies that are serving equality, best practices in the workplace, are they honestly and truthfully doing better? So we hired a company called Fuzzy Logics. We worked with Bob Whittek and Harris Poll, and we went out and we created what we call a methodology process. And the first step of that methodology process was you had to be at the top of the HRC list. Like if you weren't in the top 90%, if you didn't score 90% plus, you were automatically eliminated. So that took 500 companies down to about 180 companies or so. And then the next step is you had to fit the box for environmental, social governance, ESG. It's the fastest growing impact investing in the world. So if you weren't at a 90% with the ISS in environmental social governance, companies were thrown out. The next thing is you had to go through an incredible financial stress test. How were you really doing as a Fortune 500 company? Were you just hanging on, or were you doing really well? You had to be at that really well level. And finally, the fourth piece was we pulled 250,000 people from all walks of life, from Cedar Rapids, Iowa to San Francisco, all the way down to Key West. And those people told us exactly who they like, who they'd work for, who they'd invest with, who they'd send their kids to work for, etc. And in an 11-year back test, look at that back test. We outperformed the S&P 500 by over 40%. Think about that. So everything that you guys just spoke about in the last segment, about the power of how to market correctly to the community, how to create an impactful message that's authentic and real, and to be able to put the dollars in a way that delivers to the millennials all the way to the person 90 years old going on their final vacation to Las Vegas. Can you imagine if those companies could continue to do better, impact more, support more? What will end up happening when they start seeing this result, which all 100 know about now? They now know that their efforts over the course of the past 5 to 10 years, 15 years, has given them a result that is second to none. They are winning on Wall Street thanks to you, thanks to our community, thanks to our allies, because we have made the determination that we are going to spend with companies that support us, and we have made that metrics a reality over the course of the past 11 years. Now that is a powerful step that every single one of our community members should know about. Every one of our allies should know about it. Elon Musk on Twitter said he was happier being number one on the LGBT index than he was being number one on the New York Stock Exchange S&P 500. He was happier because he decided a long time ago that his business was going to be run with equality, advancing equality, fairness, equal pay. All the things that we care about, very, very important. So the back test was very good. The press took notice because nobody ever had connected Wall Street to LGBT Main Street, really, and then all the way down to corporate America. That connection of those three dots had never really been made with a real assessment, So we were fortunate that Barney Frank and Billy Bean and Martina Navratilova and Orlando Reese from Pride Media and Robert Toll from the ETF world to LZ Granderson from CNN, etc., our team, the founders, they were featured on all of these networks saying, corporate America, great job, you 100 have made a difference, and we're really actually happy for you too, because people have chosen to spend with you, invest with you, and support your products, your brands, and your services more so than they are your competitors. And for that reason, you're doing better by 5 to 6% in the market. Does that make sense to everybody? So your spending patterns have unequivocally made a difference to their bottom line. I just mentioned some of our superstars, and I mean superstars not because Martina won 9 Wimbledons, not because Barney was a congressman for 40 years, not because Orlando is now crushing it at Univision and worked so diligently at Pride Media and helped Martha Stewart Living to, you look at Andrea Briano, one of the founders at Huffington Post. She's now running an incredible company at Rebel Mouse. Billy Beane, I think we will all agree, transcended Major League Baseball on advancing equality. Every single Major League Baseball team now embraces equality, from the owners to the executive team to the managers to the players, all the way down to the minor leagues. Every team welcomes every player. And that's what Billy's done. And you know why Billy was able to do that? Because corporate America said, Billy, we're behind you, we support you, go for it, good job Major League Baseball. More sponsors, more sponsorship dollars, Pride Nights. Is that not a message that equality is winning? Equality is winning in the home. Equality is winning in the workplace. Equality is winning in the boardroom. It's winning in the supermarket, on the airline, in the restaurant. It's winning all over the world. All of us in this room have courage, or we wouldn't be here. The young lady I just met from Cedar Rapids took courage for you to go do what you did in Cedar Rapids, in a town that probably would have looked at you a few years ago and go, what are you doing? Well, you know what? What you're doing is awesome. And what we need is more people around this country doing what you're doing in Sioux City, Iowa, to the small towns in Georgia, to the big cities in Texas, to the little towns in Texas. My great friend Michael Hendricks is running for the state house, and he'll be the first one elected gay in Texas. We need to help him. We had him with our friends Michael Kelly and Mark Berryhill last week in P-Town, the guys that are trying to buy Pride Media, who own Celebrity Page, right? They got behind him. Our community now has power. Barney Frank says it better. We're not held back, set back, and cut back anymore. We've drawn the line, and in the most important thing that we have done, this group of people, with my vision, what we have done is we have shown the world that corporate America matters. They're on our team. They want to support us. And we need to make sure that every dollar we spend goes to those companies and no one else. That's what we have to do. It's up to Gaycation. It's up to our media company. It's up to every media outlet in the world to showcase those businesses and give them the attention and gratitude and featured stories that they deserve. Because every young person, right, starts new in this world of figuring out who they like and what they like. And we're going to go into something very interesting after we talk about it, is, at the end of the day, you have a decision to make. You just do. And if you could be educated by the media properly on authentic brands that are really got your back, they got your back, meaning you can get a job there. You can have your partner get a job there. You can buy their product and know that they care about you and they're going to be supportive there for you. They're not going to be there in New York City for 3 days and gone on Monday and going, whew, that was a lot of money. I hope it works. No, it's not enough anymore. So at the end of the day, we can only do what we're doing with an incredible team, right? And you talk about Bob Whittek. He stepped up with my business partner, John, over here, and Harris Poll went to bat for us and polled 250,000 people. You talk about Fuzzy Logics, one of the most incredible companies that figured out a methodology. You know how my great friend, I got to respect so much, and I do, Matt Skellerud, who's really the icon in this business and helping all of us understand social media and to understand how powerful it is to connect and how to connect. Because we all want to connect. I don't know anybody in the industry. Matt helped me years ago and made a huge difference for me when I was printing 1,000 pages a day. And hey, we got up to almost 4 million people reading that stuff also online. Matt figured out how to do this special sauce, right? Well, Fuzzy Logics figured out our special sauce on how to determine which 100 companies are the best of the best. The best of the best. Then you look at a company like Maxim Group. Boy, can you imagine walking into the Chrysler building in the Harvey Milk days, or even 20 years ago, or even maybe 10 years ago, and saying, I need millions of dollars with a bunch of white bankers, straight, 45 millionaires in the Hamptons with 4 kids? They would look at you like you're crazy. Guess what Maxim Group did? They said, we love the fact that we want to hold corporate America accountable just as much as we want them to be respected and acknowledged. Think of that statement. The power of holding the ones accountable that are still holding some of us back, it's just as important for us to keep them accountable so that they can recognize how they're missing the boat by doing the right thing. And isn't it about doing the right thing? We're all equal. It's about doing the right thing. Well, at the end of the day, doing the right thing means you treat everybody equal, and we proved if you treat everybody equal, then you're going to win. And this organization right here is going to showcase that, and you're going to be at the top of their list. We're going to move along quickly because I have 4 minutes and 10 seconds, and I got to make my partner happy. Is wealth transfer. Look at that, 68 trillion underway. To DJ and everybody's point, Ed, it's gone. That ship's left the harbor. And that money's now heading over to our millennials because that's the next generation of spending. Very important. For the first time, I am so thrilled to announce to you, the LGBT community, you're my first lecture since COVID, since we've been working on this for all these years. We're now out moving around. I'll be in Austin, Texas next week. I'll be in Indian Wells the following week. I'll be in LA the following week after that. We're now sharing with the world that there is an ETF now available, meaning you can call up your broker and you can say, I want LGBT. What does that mean? It means that you can now invest in companies that support your principles and core values. It trades on the NASDAQ. Millions of dollars currently under management. We want to get to $1 billion. Matt, I need your help. Social media. Talk to John. $1 million we want to get under management because then we will prove that our community gets behind the people that get behind us. And that means every single person here today, get a share, 1 share, 2 share, I don't care, 1, 10. Barney Frank asked me to do you a favor today. Anybody that you know that cares about equality, buy a share. Isn't that right, Marin? He told you that in an interview that you did a great feature for us in the Phoenix magazine, Equalitas, Out Voices. Barney said to Marin, put in the magazine, everybody gets a share of LGBT. Because guess what? That's your part of being on the right side of history. And you must do it. It's a global awakening. Call it a social revolution. Don't confuse that with our friend that talks about the social revolution, because I'm not political. What I am is I am a corporate America-driven, passionate person to showcase the best companies in the world that serve you so I can create financial products and services that turns around and supports you even more and holds people accountable that are not doing the job. That's what we're doing. That's our social revolution. It's a global awakening. I think everybody will agree social impact is without question one of the top subjects in the world today in the financial world. Social impact, diversity and inclusion, LGBTQ. That's our wheelhouse. Our vision, I think you understand it. I'll move through it quickly with a minute and a half. To be the leading global diversity and inclusion index platform empowered by the community, which is you, to advance equality, maximize impact, and deliver performance for investors. We're not a charity. When you're performing by 6% and you're beating the S&P, you're winning in the checkbook, the bank book, the 401k, everything's winning. And you're doing the right thing to be on the right side of history. You're playing your role. You're taking your piece of the action. And you're winning. You're winning for your cause. Advancing equality is all about diversity and inclusion. Includes race, ethnicity, gender, sexual identity. Listen, our community, as you know, we come from all walks of life. All walks of life. To build a sustainable and well-recognized index and ETF portfolio. There'll be more products coming soon. We'll be helping corporate America do better with our data, our analytics, our methodology process. We're just getting started. Years of just getting started. I'll be getting started when I'm 85. Because the work will never be done. Billie Jean King says it best, you're one generation away from being set back, held back, and cut back again. Because of you, and all of you, we're going to make sure that setback never comes. That's our mission. Hold everybody accountable 24/7 every single day. Building a powerful and relevant and global brand. We're doing that. Humanizing our index and ETFs to make sure that people understand them. So forth. We want to be the S in the capital ESG. We are the S. No mistakes about it today. We are the S. And we're going to lead with that for decades to come. Great news. I don't know if anybody can say this, but this is a pretty aggressive statement, and it happened yesterday, and I hope that every one of you are very proud, because $10 million has just been committed to this cause. We closed on a $10 million transaction yesterday, and that $10 million is going to go to serve equality, recognize corporate America, launch additional financial products, do more, serve more to help you be proud of who you are, give you investment products to retire on better, and make sure that you're doing it every step of the way with businesses only that serve your principles and core values. Finally, I'd like to say it's because of you, your support, the years of learning curves, my media world, thousands of pages, millions of dollars of revenue. I got to this point today, folks. The first ever LGBT company in the world that has an index on the New York Stock Exchange, has a ETF on the NASDAQ, and everything that owns it, operates it, copyrights it, partners with Billy, Barney, Martina, the group, is LGBTQ loyalty, and that stock symbol is LFAP. So I encourage you, if you want to be part of what we're doing, and you want to be part of making history in the financial world to Main Street to corporate America, we are looking for business partners. We're looking for vendors to work with. We're looking for our community to be behind us. Most importantly, I hope that you call your stockbroker on Monday and buy a few shares of whatever you think can build your portfolio, and I think I showed you what to do. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Moving so phenomenally, like the way we rock it, so don't stop.
We're going to have just a quick follow-up here with some questions. Just for clarity here, define ETF and ESG for us, please.
Great. ETF is an exchange-traded fund.
Right.
And it really comes from the old school mutual fund, where a mutual fund would have about 50 or 100 companies in there.
So it's a publicly traded fund on the exchange?
It's a publicly traded fund on the NASDAQ.
Okay, and the ESG is what?
Environmental, social governance. So ESG has become this very prolific investment tool that the Opal people and social impact investors and every big corporate America, wealthy investors all the way down to people that do a few dollars a month, they want to invest in companies that are ESG. They're looking out for the environment, they're looking out for their social, and they want to make sure that these companies are running good governance with equal pay to women, et cetera, et cetera.
So those on the LGBT exchange, how are they vetted?
Boy, $1 million it cost us. First thing is that we had to go and really determine from the HRC the best of the best. The second step is that we went to the ISS and we wanted to make sure we were picking...
ISS?
It's an international organization that manages and monitors the environmental social governance companies.
Okay.
Companies that are really walking the talk. They're not just putting up the flag or just not doing something for the environment on a weekend. They're really companies that are strong for environmental social governance. And so those companies get a 25% weighing. The companies that the HRC recommends, the top 90%, get a 25% weighing. And then they go through this extreme financial stress test like any fund would do.
Okay.
And then the most prolific and interesting part is that our community votes. We have 250,000 people that we reached out to in all 50 states, and we tried to find the influencers. So people like you that would take the time to take the poll.
It's financial, it's HRC, it is the ISS and the LGBTQ community deciding
that
who these
makes
are.
the decision on the best 100 companies from the best of the 500 that support, invest, protect, look after, hire, everything best practices for diversity and inclusion.
And what's the flow rate in and out of that 100? Is it reviewed? Is it vetted regularly? And people you drop in and out, or how's this work?
That's a great question. You should be on our board. Barney would love you.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
Barney would love you because these
Yeah.
are the questions he asked. We replaced 11 last year.
Okay.
Because 11 fell out. And I'll tell you what's really cool about the 11 falling out, and I'm not happy about somebody falling out, but there's companies now working their butt off to get in.
Okay.
So what does that really mean? If you got thousands of companies, they'll never make the index, but can you imagine if the wine bar in Chelsea, the owner says, I'm going to do everything by the book the way LGBTQ is doing. I mean, I want to make sure that I'm running my place environmentally well. I want to be capital S for social. I want to hire all kids from all walks of life. I want transgender kids in here and lesbians and gays. And I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance in my business.
Right.
Can you imagine how better well served our generation's going to be next time around?
It might be unfair of you to have to pull this off the top of your head, but what's the biggest company in there and what's the smallest?
Well, I'll tell you the biggest is Amazon, and I think Tesla beat Amazon this last round, right, John? And then number 100. So retail outlet.
So that's by market cap, right?
No, it's by those four.
It's those. Okay.
And I will tell you, $1 million is a lot of money. And Matt, I wish I spent $1 million with you on marketing this thing. Maybe we will. But I will tell you this, that $1 million vetted the heck out of those 500. I mean, those 500 probably felt a lot of pressure.
Interesting.
Right? Because we did exactly what the guys were talking about earlier. We just didn't see if they put the flag out on the weekend or had the float in New York or were at World Gay Pride in New York a few years ago. I mean, we lifted the hood and we drilled all the way down to the bottom.
That's interesting. I know there were a couple of questions for Bobby. Does anyone have a question out there? DJ, is that your hand up?
I would say that we've already proven that we do support them already, and I would say that they're working to make sure that we don't leave them.
I knew you were going
So I have a
there,
great
DJ.
idea for every publisher in the room and for the publishers that are watching online, and I'm sure some of my friendly publishers from my past are watching. Here's what I would recommend. Reach out to the 100 index members with an editor. Talk to their diversity inclusion department. Put them on the front pages of your websites and your newspapers. Do a feature story. Show them the reach that you can give them. Thank them for what they've done to earn their respectable spot as one of the best 100 companies in the world. And then a couple weeks later, call them back and say, would you like to support this message through an advertising campaign? What's your budget to move forward? And I'm going to tell you, those 100 may not want to tell you no. But it starts with you reaching out, doing the campaign, featuring them, giving them fantastic reach, doing promotional campaigns about the feature, about their business, about what they did. When did this story start? How much have they invested? How much did it cost them to become one of the best where every kid in America feels good about going to work at Amazon, which they do? How much did it take for you to feel good about, getting a job at Tesla? A lot of kids know they can go there. So I would start out by featuring them and doing what we do best as publishers. And then I would go in and say, let me help you with this 365 days a year. Here's how I can help you.
What's your next question, DJ?
So I have it's an interesting point, and I've been talking about this to my team, and because it was brought up today, it really justifies my asking. We have a methodology process, right? And that methodology process determines these 100. How cool would it be for me to be able to figure out through our methodology how much of their marketing budget is spent on LGBT, right? So this came up about 3 or 4 months ago with, I believe, LeBron James and a few others, where they were concerned that certain brands and services had said that they captured the black community. And when they found out that they only spent 8% or 7% on reaching out to the black community, they found out, well, maybe they misunderstood that they really support the black community, right? So, these businesses. So what a great way for me to maybe add to our methodology process that our top 100 companies would have to invest, support, and show financial support to a certain level of their budget, no different than how they may be reaching out to women, Hispanics, African Americans, et cetera. Or maybe our assessment would be all diversity inclusion. I think that'd be more fair, because remember, we come from all walks of life. We're everybody. We're black, white, Jewish, Catholic, Muslim. We're everybody. So maybe the question bodes best to be, how much money are you putting towards diversity, inclusion, marketing, advertising? And oh, by the way, if you're doing feature stories on them and you're staying in relationship with their PR department and their HR department and their diversity inclusion director, it's very likely you'll get those ad buys.
That's what I'm just sitting here thinking. Just this morning, we touched on so many different things. There was such a rich concentration and a rich diversity of information that we presented here. Please give a nice hand to Bobby here. This was an awesome prezzo.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.